Hello, my dear students. Today I'll talk about the general anatomy of the joints. This lecture is very basic lecture for all the medical and paramedical students. So by learning general anatomy of the joints, will there be an extra benefit where you will apply this knowledge? The answer is yes. You will apply this knowledge in easy learning of the gross anatomy joints. This lecture is basically part 1 of my upcoming project, that is how to learn a gross anatomy joint or any joint of the gross anatomy. There are joints in the upper limb, there are joints in the lower limb, there are joints in the head and neck region.
Because you don't follow the rule for studying each joint, you go for rata for every joint. So my focus will be on building up the concept and then applying it for studying any joint. So anatomy will be very easy for you after this. Before describing the general anatomy of the joints, I want to tell you about the protocols of the general anatomy. What you are required to answer when a question from general anatomy is asked. The answer is you have to define a term, then you have to classify that term into categories, then you have to define each category, and after that you have to give example of the each category. So that's it. Always keep in mind, whenever you are asked a question about general anatomy, you have to focus on defining a term, then classify it into categories, then define each category, and lastly give the example. These are the simple protocols of attempting a general anatomy question. Now, what is the definition of a joint? What can be a joint? Who will define the joint? Answer is general anatomy will define the joint, and with this definition we will recognize the joints in the body. Look at these three pictures. What you think about these pictures? Is it a joint? Is there a joint in the skull? And where is joint in this skeleton? Always remember three simple words for the definition of a joint. What can be a joint? Always remember three simple words: contact between bones. It can be two bone, it can be more than two bone. So the contact between bones is a joint. This is a simple definition of a joint. Whenever the two bones make a contact, then they are labeled as the joint. Look at these three pictures. What do you think about this picture? This is a bone making contact with another bone, and you will label this picture as a joint, that this is a joint. Can you see a joint in this picture and in this picture? I will demonstrate you. Look at here. This is the parietal bone. This parietal bone is ending here and temporal bone is starting. So this contact is a joint. Never think about a joint will be movable, a joint will have a cavity. This is not the criteria. The criteria is contact between two bones. This is parietal bone, this is frontal bone. The contact between parietal and frontal bone is a joint. That's it. Look at here. This is the sternum bone and this is the clavicle bone, and there is the contact. So this will be the joint, and the joint name is sternoclavicular joint. Look at here. This is the clavicle bone and this is the acromion, and here is the contact. So this is a joint, and the joint is acromioclavicular joint. That's why always keep in mind contact between the two bones is a joint. That's all about the definition of the joint. Now the classification of the joints. The classification of the joint. Now the classification of the joints. The classification of the joint, I will simplify for you. That always keep in mind you have to answer two questions. Question number one is there a cavity between two bones? And there is contact between two bones. Is there a cavity? If the answer is yes, then the joint is cavitated joint or diarthrosis. If the answer is no, then comes question number 2. The joint will be labeled as non-cavitated joint or synarthrosis. But there comes question number 2. The question number 2 is, what is the uniting medium? What is the uniting medium? This is question number 2, and the answer will give us two categories. If the answer is uniting medium is cartilage, then the joint is cartilaginous joint. If the answer is a connective tissue, that is a fibrous connective tissue uniting the two bones, this is the answer, then the joint will be fibrous joint. Cartilaginous joint can be primary cartilaginous joint or can be secondary cartilaginous joint. The primary cartilaginous joint is also known as synchondrosis, and the secondary cartilaginous joint is also known as symphysis. Now, what is the difference between primary cartilaginous and a secondary cartilaginous joint? The difference number 1 is that there are three categories of the cartilage. You already know. We have got a hyaline cartilage, we have got a fibrocartilage, and we have got an elastic cartilage. So if the uniting medium is cartilage, joint is cartilaginous, yes, but what about the category of the cartilage? If the cartilage is hyaline cartilage, then it's the primary cartilaginous joint. If the uniting medium is fibrocartilage, keep in mind, not fibrous connective tissue, fibrocartilage, then it's the secondary cartilaginous joint. Another difference that I will explain in detail is that primary cartilaginous joint is before the birth of the bone and secondary cartilaginous joint is after the birth of the bone. I will explain shortly. Now the fibrous joint that has got connective tissue, fibrous connective tissue as the uniting medium, it has got three categories. One is the sutures, then is the gum fosses, and then is the syndesmosis. I will explain these terms one by one. Before going further, I will repeat the classification of the joint because this is very much important. So we have to answer two questions. Question number 1 is there a cavity? If there is a cavity, then it's a cavitated joint or diarthrosis. If there is no cavity, then it's a non-cavitated joint or synarthrosis. Then comes question number 2. What is the uniting medium of the non-cavitated joints? Uniting medium of the non-cavitated joint can be cartilage, can be connective tissue, fibrous connective tissue. If it's cartilage, then it's cartilaginous joints. If it's fibrous connective tissue, then it's fibrous joint. A cartilaginous joint can be primary, can be secondary. If the uniting medium between the non-cavitated cartilaginous joint is a hyaline cartilage, then the cartilaginous joint is primary cartilaginous joint, and if it's fibrocartilage, then it is secondary cartilaginous joint or symphysis. The fibrous joint in which the connecting medium is fibrous connective tissue has got three categories: sutures, gum fosses, and syndesmosis. Now look at here. This is the bone, this is another bone, and they make a contact. If you get a capsule and this contact between two bones is converted into a cavity, then we say that it's a cavitated joint or diarthrosis joint. If there is no cavity, then comes the question that what is the uniting medium between the two bones? Which connective tissue is going to join these two bones? If this uniting medium is cartilage, then the joint is cartilaginous joint, and if this uniting medium is a fibrous connective tissue, then the joint is fibrous joint. So take it very simple how to classify joint into three basic categories. Now I'll explain the cartilaginous joint two categories. The two categories of the cartilaginous joint are primary and secondary. What's the basic difference between a primary cartilaginous and a secondary cartilaginous joint is that it's about development. Primary cartilaginous joint is joint from the very beginning. It's a cartilaginous joint from the very beginning. It's about birth of a joint. Okay. For explaining this, I have to move to other topic, that is the development of the bone. So I will briefly explain the development of the bone. So the bone development has got two categories. It's intramembranous and it's intracartilaginous. So what's intramembranous and intracartilaginous? In the intramembranous, bone is formed from the mesenchyme. Bone is born from day one. What is intercartilaginous development? Cartilage will form first. This is the basic difference. Cartilage is formed first. Here bone was formed first directly from the mesenchyme. Here cartilage is formed first from the mesenchyme. After that, bone is formed by replacing the cartilage. So this is intracartilaginous bone development. Here bone is not born from day one. This is simple way of remembering. Bone is not born from day one. I will now further explain the intracartilaginous bone development. Look at here. This is a cartilage model of the bone. First, a cartilage model of the bone is formed. First a sample bone is formed with the help of the cartilage. After that, bone is formed by replacing this cartilage. Bone formed first in the sphincter. So this is known as the primary ossification center. And then bone starts developing, start replacing the cartilage at the periphery, at the ends of this long bone. So these peripheral bone development center will be known as the secondary ossification center. I will label these structures first. This is the primary ossification center and this is the secondary ossification center. Okay. So the bone development will expand. Bone will develop in this area. This is the area of the shaft, or also known as the diaphysis. So the bone will develop and this area is known as the diaphysis. The bone development also continue at the secondary ossification centers, and these margins are also known as, these ends are also known as the epiphyses. Look at here, what is this? So this is a bone and this is a bone, this is also a bone. What is this point here? What is this? Do you remember the definition? The definition was contact between two bones will be joint. We cannot change the definition. We have to agree that this is the joint. Other important facts that you have to agree is that this joint is made up of hyaline cartilage. Yes, this joint is made up of hyaline cartilage. Another is that we have to agree that this joint is formed before the bone is formed. So this is primary cartilaginous joint. This is joint from the very beginning. Before the bone is formed, there was hyaline cartilage. So this is primary cartilaginous joint. So this is the primary cartilaginous joint made up of the hyaline cartilage. It's also known as the metaphysis. Metaphysis. In between the epiphysis and diaphysis, we have got this metaphysis. This metaphysis has got other important features. This metaphysis is also known as the growth plate. Why it's known as growth plate? Because of its special functions, special properties. I will explain you in this picture. Look at here. I will demonstrate here the development of the bone. At the initial stages, we just have a cartilaginous sample which lead to development of the mature bone. So this is cartilage. Here we have got cartilage. Then the blood vessels comes and we get a primary ossification center which start forming the bone. After that we get blood vessels penetrating here at the ends, and again the bone will form at the ends and we get bone here. This end is known as the epiphysis. So what is this? Here we have got bone, here we have got a bone. What is this? Here we have got a bone, here we have got a bone. This is joint by definition. This is a joint. The uniting medium is hyaline cartilage. It's a cartilaginous joint, and you can see that cartilage was present before the bone. Before the bone, the cartilage was present. We've got the cartilage before the bone was developed. So this is primary cartilaginous joint. Now why this is labeled as growth plate? Here you can see that the growth plate has been labeled as end plate. There is no cartilage here now. The joint has disappeared. That's why this joint is labeled as the temporary joint. But it's not very much temporary. It takes 18 to 20 years for the growth plate, for the hyaline cartilage to become bone. So what is the function of the growth plate? The function of the growth plate is, as the name says, growth. The growth in the length of the bones is through the growth plate. Here we have got bone, here we have got bone. Bone has been formed from the cartilage. The function of the growth plate is that it persists 18 to 20 years and it adds up the bone tissue till 18 to 20 years. How far you will gain the length? How far the bone will increase in its length? The answer is persistence of the growth plate. Then there can be increase in the length of the bone. Here the growth plane disappears. The growth plane also ossifies. It becomes bone. Look at these two x-rays. Why I have shown you here. We have got bone here. There is the shaft of the bone. We have got bone here. That is the end of the bone. In between there is a lighter area. In between there is a lighter area. This is the growth plate. This is light because this is not the bone. This is a cartilage. So in a short-heighted person, first go for X-ray. If there is an evidence of the growth plate, then go for hormonal treatment, medical treatment for stimulating the bone growth and achieving the target of the height. Now I will demonstrate the fibrous joints. Second category that I am going to describe is the fibrous joint. Before describing the fibrous joint, look at this table. This is the table of the connective tissue classification. Connective tissue is one of the four basic tissues of the human body. Four basic tissues are the epithelial tissue, the connective tissue, the muscle tissue, and the nervous tissue. This is classification of the connective tissue. Connective tissue proper, connective tissue special, which has got cartilage, which has got bone, and which has got the blood. Connective tissue proper can be loose connective tissue, can be dense connective tissue, and in the dense connective tissue you can see that we've got elastic, irregular, and regular connective tissue. Now keep in mind, what is the exact uniting medium of the fibrous cartilage? This is the uniting medium of the fibrous cartilage. Dense, regular connective tissue, that is written as fibrous connective tissue in your books. So the uniting medium of the fibrous joint is the dense, regular connective tissue. You can also note that cartilage is also a connective tissue, a special connective tissue, and the cartilage has got three categories: hyaline, elastic, and fibrocartilage. Hyaline cartilage, uniting medium of the primary cartilaginous joint. Fibrocartilage, the uniting medium of the secondary cartilaginous joint. This is the reason that I have shown you this table. I want you to apply the knowledge of the histology. Now the three basic categories of the fibrous joint are the sutures, kyphosis, and syndesmosis. First, I will describe sutures. Sutures are present between the skull bones. Skull bones of the top or the calvaria are flat bones, and skull bones of the bottom, norma basialis, we have got the irregular bones. So you can see that we've got two flat bones of the skull, and this is the contact between two bones. This is a joint. This is bone A flat bone of the skull. This is bone B, another flat bone of the skull. In between is the contact, and in the contact we have got the uniting medium. The uniting medium of the fibrous joint will always be fibrous connective tissue. Category is dense regular connective tissue. But always keep in mind, you'll write down in definition that in the sutures, the fibrous connective tissue is minimum, very low amount of fibrous connective tissue. And when there will be very low amount of the fibrous connective tissue, bones will be joined very much tightly. So the two bones are tightly joined, two skull bones are tightly joined with the help of the fibrous connective tissue, and these are known as the sutures. Look at here. This is the parietal bone. This is the parietal bone. On the front, we have got the frontal bone, and over the back, we have got the occipital bone. This is the occipital bone. We're looking from back. This is the parietal bone. This is the parietal bone. When we are looking from the sides, this is the frontal bone. This is the parietal bone. This is the temporal bone, and this is the occipital bone. This is the upper jaw. So this is the maxilla bone of the one side, and this is the maxilla bone of the other side. Between the two parietal bone, you can see that we have got a joint. This is the suture, and this suture between two parietal bone is known as sagittal suture. There is a contact between the two parietal bones and the frontal bones here, and this suture is known as the coronal suture. This is the occipital bone, and these are the parietal bone. So there is a contact, and you can see that the bones are tightly close to each other with minimal amount of the fibrous connective tissue, and this suture between the two parietal bones and the occipital bone is known as lambdoid suture. Lambdoid suture. Now further categories of the sutures. The further category of the sutures are the serrate suture, are the denticulate sutures, are the squamous sutures, are the plain sutures, and lastly the ridge and groove type of the sutures. This is the morphological classification, and the basis is the what is the shape of the contact at the level of contact, what is the shape of the two bones. I will explain here. Look at here, this is the parietal bone, and at the level of the contact, the shape of the bone is like the sawtooth. Likewise, the opposite bone has also got a appearance of the sawtooth, which will fit inside the other bone. So this is the serrate suture, the sagittal suture and the serrate suture. Now what is the denticulate suture? The lambdoid suture is the example of the denticulate suture. The parietal bone here has got shape like this. The parietal bone towards occipital bone has got shape like this. Now the occipital bone will have reciprocally same surfaces which will fit inside these denticulate appearances, and the suture is known as the denticulate suture. Now the squamous suture, that is present between the parietal bone and the temporal bone here. What is squamous suture? Both the bones have got thinner tapering edges that overlap over each other. So this suture is the squamous suture. I will explain with an example shortly. Now the plain suture. The plain suture is present between the two maxilla bones. This is the intermaxillary suture, that is an example of the plain suture. What is a plain suture? The contact edges of the two bones are flat, there is no thinning, and they are opposite to each other. Let me explain further. Look at these blocks. Here we have got two blocks with flat surfaces, and when they will contact like this. This is the plain suture. Look at these two blocks. When they contact each other, they have got tapering end. The edges get thin and they will contact like this, and this suture is known as the squamous suture that is present between the parietal bone and the temporal bone, temporoparietal suture. The last category of the sutures is the ridge and groove. This is the example of the ridge and the groove. I will also explain the ridge and groove pattern with the gum forces, that is peg and socket. So what is difference? Look at these two pictures and you will easily recognize what is the difference between ridge and groove type of suture and peg and socket type of gum forces. Ridge and groove type of sutures and gum forces, that is peg and socket type of a fibrous joint. Concentrate on these two pictures. Now look at here. I will explain gum forces here. So this is a teeth that is present inside a bony socket, that is the alveolar socket, bony socket. Inside a bony socket the teeth is present. This is example of the gum forces. Again you can see here in our upper jaw, in our lower jaw, the teeth has got contact with the bone and this is a joint. This joint is known as the gum forces. Again I want to explain the peg and socket and the ridge and groove type of suture. Peg and socket is between a teeth and the alveolar socket. This is the gum forces. And Schindler's ridge and groove type of suture is formed when vomer make contact with the sphenoid rostrum. Now the third category of the fibrous joint is the syndesmosis. Syndesmosis is a joint, so it will be contact between the two bones. It's a fibrous joint and it's non-cavitated joint, and two bones will be united by the fibrous connective tissue. But the question is, differs between gum forces and sutures. What is the difference? The difference is the amount of the uniting medium. In the sutures and gum forces, two bones were tightly close to each other with minimal amount of the connective tissue. But in syndesmosis, two bones are not tightly packed to each other and the fibrous connective tissue is present in larger amount. This is the basic difference of the syndesmosis with gum forces and the sutures. Now I will show you the typical example of the syndesmosis. Look at here. This is the radius bone and this is the ulnar bone. These two bones are united with the help of this ligament throughout their shaft. It's not just a ligament, it's a long bar of the membrane that unites the shaft of the two bones. So we will not label it as ligament, we will label as membrane, and we will label it as interosseous membrane. What is meant by interosseous? Inter means between and osseous mean bones. So when there is a long ligament between two bones, we will label it as interosseous membrane. Also keep in mind that in the hand and foot we have got metacarpal bones and metatarsal bones, and in between metacarpal and metatarsal bone there are muscles that are thoroughly present in between the bone. So we also label those muscles as interosseous muscles. So this was an extra point. So the interosseous membrane is the typical example of syndesmosis. Between radius bone and between ulnar bone there is a membrane known as the interosseous membrane. Likewise, in the bones of the leg, tibia and fibula, in between they are joined together by a broad sheet of the membrane known as the interosseous membrane. This is the typical example of the syndesmosis. Now coming to the atypical example of the syndesmosis, because by definition if there is a ligament that unites the two bones, it's labeled as the syndesmosis. So these are the atypical examples of the syndesmosis. Before describing these examples, I will demonstrate the anatomy of a vertebra, the general description of a vertebra, how a vertebra is described. We start description of the vertebra that it has got a body. This is the body of the vertebra, and it has got an arch. It has got an arch. The body and arch are united together at the level of the pedicle. This is the pedicle. This is the pedicle. So these are the two parts of the vertebra, a body and an arch. This is the pedicle. This is the pedicle. This is the body, and this is the arch. We will further explain the parts of the arch. Arch has got a transverse process like this. Outward is the transverse process. Then arch has got two laminas. These are the two laminas. These are the two laminas. You can see laminas are joined in the center and they form the spine of the vertebra. This is the spine of the vertebra. The two lamina unite in the center to form a single spine. This is the spine of the vertebra. So the part of the arch are transverse process, lamina and the spinous process. So this is the general description of a vertebra. Vertebra or the backbone. Vertebra are in the cervical region, cervical vertebra. Then is the thoracic vertebra in the thoracic region. Then is the lumbar vertebra in the abdominal region. Then is the sacral vertebra in the pelvic region, and last this is the tailbone, coccygeal vertebra. They are present in the perineal region. In all these regions there are some differences in the structure of the vertebra, but the parts are the same. You will start description in the similar pattern, a body and an arch united by the pedicle. Then arch has got a transverse process, has got a lamina and has got a spinous process. Now I will demonstrate the different ligaments that unite the different parts of the vertebra. The transverse processes are joined to each other with the help of the intertransverse ligament. So we will label that between the two transverse processes there is a ligament known as the intertransverse ligament. This is the lamina. This is the lamina. Between the two lamina again there is a ligament that unites the two laminas. And uniting two laminas, this ligament is known as the ligamentum flava or ligamentum flavum. This is the ligamentum flavum. Then between the spines, this is the spine, this is the spine. Between the spine there is a ligament. This is the spine, this is spine. Between the spines there is a ligament. Between spines there is a ligament known as the interspinous ligament. Interspinous ligament. Note down, interspinous ligament is between the spines. It between the east spine. It between the east spine. There is another ligament that is present on the top of the spine and runs throughout the vertebral column like this. This long ligament that runs over the top of the spines throughout the vertebral column is known as supraspinous ligament. Supraspinous ligament. So the supraspinous ligament, intertransverse ligament, ligamentum flava and the intertransverse ligament are the atypical examples of the syndesmosis. Now look at this diagram. You can see these are the ribs and they make contact with the vertebra. So this is a joint, but always remember this joint is a cavitated joint, this joint is synovial joint and this joint is a diarthrosis joint. Concentrate here, the rib make contact with the vertebral body and the transverse process. You can also note down here with the vertebral body here the rib will make a joint. This is the articular facet and here also the rib will contact with the transverse process. So there are two synovial joint. Rib will make, rib is known as costo. So the with vertebral body the joint will be costo-vertebral joint, synovial joint, cavitated joint, movable joint, and with the transverse process the rib will make a joint, synovial joint, movable joint, costo-transverse joint. In the end, I want to tell you a very important fact. The very important fact is that vertebra with the vertebra has got joints, and I will show you that all the categories of the joint, fibrous joint, cartilaginous joint and movable synovial joint, all categories are present in the joints that are present between the vertebra. So I will quickly revise these examples. Note down that vertebra develop with the cartilaginous model of the bone. There is an ossification center for the body, there is an ossification center for the arch. So as I already described that bone will form here, bone will form here and bone will form here. In between there will be cartilage left and we will label that cartilage as a joint, as a primary cartilaginous joint. So the primary cartilaginous joint is present between the vertebra during development, and after development the cartilage will ossify. Always remember, if a joint ossifies, the term is known as synostosis. Whether the joint is cartilaginous, whether the joint is fibrous, if a joint become bone, always remember you label it as synostosis. So now look at here. Now look at this diagram. This is the body of the vertebra, this is the body of the vertebra. In between is present the intervertebral disc that is made up of the fibrous cartilage. So what this joint will be? This joint is the secondary cartilaginous joint. I have given you the example of primary cartilaginous joint, and I have given you example of the secondary cartilaginous joint. I already told you that there is ligament between transverse fasces, that ligament between the lamina, there is ligament between the spines, and this is the example of the fibrous joint, syndesmosis. Look at here, between the ribs and the vertebra there is a synovial joint, there is a cavitated joint, that is the diarthrosis. Students are frequently asked in the viva, enumerate the joint between the two vertebra, and they get confused or they just tell one or two type of joint. Keep in mind, you can demonstrate all the type of joint between the vertebra. These are the confusing terms. Look at these terms: syndesmosis, synchondrosis, symphysis, synarthrosis, spondylosis, synostosis. These can be confusing terms at the end of your chapter. So note down the syndesmosis. It's a category of the fibrous joint, and remember it with the example of the interosseous membrane. Always remember syndesmosis with the example of the interosseous membrane. Synchondrosis. Synchondrosis is the other name for primary cartilaginous joint. Synchondrosis. Symphysis. Symphysis is another name for the secondary cartilaginous joint. Then is the synarthrosis. Synarthrosis is combined name for non-cavitated joints, that is cartilaginous and the fibrous joint. Spondylosis is ridge and groove type of suture that is present between the femur and the sphenoid bone. Femurosphenoid suture is the spondylosis. Then is synostosis. I have described the whenever any kind of joint ossifies, joint become bone, then we label that as the synostosis. This was part 1 of the general anatomy joints lecture. Part 2 will start with the detail about the diarthrosis, the cavitated joint. So that's all about today's lecture.